Morning guys, and welcome back to Mark's Random Videos. It's rapidly turning into Mark's Random Drones here. So we've got various quadcopters here as part of my collection now that I'm getting more and more into flying FPV. And basically on my last video you would have seen that I made an attempt to fly at a Bando location, at Woburn Bando, and at that point I couldn't fly acro. I still can't fly acro amazingly, but I have started. So I wanted to update you guys on that I have started to try flying proper acro, and you know, whilst I've had multiple crashes, it's been an enlightening experience, and it is working very well for me, to be honest. I'm quite happy that I've moved to acro now. I'm struggling a bit in proximity, I'm still struggling with landing and so on and so forth. Still experimenting a bit with camera angle, but what I wanted to talk about today was my first purchase of a 5-inch quad. I've gone and got the Diatone Roma F5, and it is a beautiful piece of equipment. Absolutely love the fit and finish on this. I have already crashed it once. You'll see this small repair to the foot, but in Diatone style, they have a comprehensive spares package which is provided with the drone, to the point where you get GoPro mounts, you get spares of pretty much every plastic, there are some black feet there, even spare DJI antennas, because this ships with the Menace RC, I think. Yeah, no, Mamba series antennas in left-hand circular polarization. So the first thing that I found when flying this, certainly in comparison to anything that I've flown before, which was mainly, you know, this in not in acro mode, and this not very often in acro mode, but I started flying acro in this, and what I found is that the 5-inch platform is completely different really to fly. There's a lot more torque in these motors, thus when you're doing a big dive or anything like that and you need to pull out, you don't need to really ramp up the throttle like you do on a 4-inch, and then you end up with prop wash on something like this, which really isn't designed for freestyle, being a long range quad with a few changes and some higher kV motors. What we find is that, well, we haven't talked about this one yet, which I've also built, but what we find is that the torquier motor with the bigger blades is essentially, you know, a lot better for control, and a lot less prop wash is occurring on this. I can really see why everyone flies 5-inch quads, because they're just the way forward, right? They're a perfect balance between, I suppose, torque, stability, you know, less affected by wind, good disc size on the props, and you know, with this, with the DJI for the first time, I get a much better FPV experience as well, now that I've got the DJI FPV goggles from the DJI FPV drone package. Now, actually, I think since the last time I posted a video, these two are new as well. These were builds that I had in process. This is a 4-inch TBS Source TBS Source Pod Racer frame, TBS Crossfire on it. We've got analog video. I just used the Eachine Triangle VTX in there, and in terms of flight controller, I think in that one I used the JHE MCU. I'll probably be able to show you it because I got two of these. The GHF 411 AIO Pro, and this is a 25 by 25 whoop sized flight controller with, you know, very respectable ampage of 25 amps on it. Yeah, it's worked really well in this quad thus far. And in case you were wondering, the motors that I've selected for this one were Beta FPV 2004s, and if I remember correctly, if the camera would focus, they're 3000 kV. So quite a high kV motor, but running this on 4S. Usually the 600 thus far. I've only flown it a few times. So the 4S 600, this one GNB 4S 600. So it's a nice little battery and a nice, what I found with this is it's a nice kind of compromise between these two. It's not as big and weighty as the Diatone, and you know, weight can be an advantage. I've found that out now that, you know, I'm getting more into the hobby and understanding things like momentum and how you're throwing about the momentum of the quad whilst you're doing stunts. But you know, this has the bigger, torquier motors on it, with them being the 2004 size versus what I've been used to with things like the 1404. So this was, you know, a strange kind of different combo, you know, of larger motors, still 4-inch props. But yeah, really, I went for that one. This was going to be the next step in my journey towards acro, and then decided to buy this. So yeah, this is very different flying experience in all three of these, really. What one am I most confident in? Probably that one, to be honest, because I've flown it for the longest. And yeah, I just suppose care less about that one and managed to fly a bit more freely. In this, I'm really worried about, you know, crashing or hitting anyone with it, anything like that. I mean, this is a big, weighty quad. To give you an idea, this is, I think, 400 grams, something like that, maybe more, compared to 250 or just less on that one, and significantly under 250 with this one, which leads us on to this one. This is the Alpha RC FI115, small toothpick. What I've done with this is I had an old flight controller. It was actually the original Chimera 4 flight controller, an ESC that I've popped in there, so iFlight 6 So we've got the Radiomaster R81, and then we've got a Flywoo Goku Triangle VTX at the back. And this is a fun little quad. It's running Zing 1303 motors. I've found the throttle response on this is extremely sensitive, so you know, that's one thing that I'm trying to tune out of this one. But yeah, this was more for flying around the garden. You know, I wanted something that was toothpick sized that I could fly around the garden, because these are really, you know, too big with my skill level to fly around my fairly compact garden, right? These need you to go out to a larger area, whereas this one you can almost get away with it, and certainly for, you know, going over the tree and stuff like that, it's good fun. But yeah, the build today, I'm just gonna have a little drink of tea. Collection of props here, we'll talk about them in a second. But the build today is around this one. So I started with the Beta 85. I wanted a whoop. I've always had whoops. In fact, I had the Aishin trash can and the Beta 85 very early in my kind of flying in the last 6 months, as I've kind of got towards what you see in front of you here. So yeah, I had the Aishin trash can, which is, you know, a Mobula 7 type whoop, and then I got the Beta FPV 85. I broke that a few times. You know, it's been in various states of repair. I just got the new Beta 85 frame, but then I came across the iFlight A85 frame, which is a lot more capable of handling various different bits, essentially mainly because of the canopy. You know, this was designed for a DJI Air unit, but what it does allow, if you're doing an analog build, is for you to fit something like what I'm going to do, which is Beta FPV VTX in the bottom there. Full focus. Hard to see that one, but I've got it strapped right on the bottom. It's the Beta FPV 800 milliwatt VTX. You can see the iFlight has a carbon fiber stiffener plate on the bottom. And then what I've selected for this was some 1202.5 motors. So normally I'd use the Flywoo Robo RB 1202.5s, but they weren't available, and I've been waiting on them for a long time, and I've already toasted one of those actually, and the Nano long range. So what I did was got the FPV, which is a kind of new brand that I'm not very familiar with, but I decided to get those. They're the FPV 1202.5s. And they look very similar to the Robos. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if they're rebranded Flywheel Robos, but I could be wrong, or they're just straight copies of them. So the way we're going to build this one is the triangular Beta FPV 800 milliwatt VTX in the bottom. Then we're going to have the JHE MCU or whatever it is, GHF 411 AIO on top of that. And then we're going to pop in the Runcam 4. Where is that? Runcam 4K split and the Radiomaster R81. And this is actually a really nice canopy because it's got two little holes at the top here, which I presume are for the two antennas if you're running the Radiomaster, which is pretty cool, or similar far sky antenna. So yeah, that's the plan for today. Get this one together, and with the bad weather, hopefully give me something that can be flown indoors or outdoors in the garden without too much hassle. What else is here that's new? I've been a bit crazy recently, to be honest. With all that stuff, this stuff, I did decommission 2 quads. I decommissioned my first iFlight Chimera 4. So I took some of the bits out of that. I was really quite disappointed in how that handled now that I've got used to these more freestyle oriented quads. And whilst long range is great fun, I'm enjoying moving towards freestyle a little bit more recently. Yeah, so on that subject, picked up one of these as well, the Beta FPV Insta360. And what I did was just made up a XT30 male to female with the cable there that ships with the Beta FPV Insta360 camera. For those of you that don't know, this is 4K camera with flow state stabilization, number of different features. It's basically a decased Insta360 1R with no battery capabilities, that is weighing in, as I say, about 30 grams. And I had to make the choice between purchasing this or a GoPro Hero 9, and I decided to go down this route because really the main reason for purchasing it was to mount on the front of the quads. Now, I think given my confidence level at the moment, I'm probably going to pop it on this one because this is the one that I'd say I was most confident flying, although it's not the best handling out of the quads. I think these two are definitely better flyers, but someone with my capabilities, I'm just more confident and more experienced on this quad, so I'll probably pop it on there to try and give it the best chance of survival for longer than one flight, because I don't want to kill this. It's a very nice little camera. Very retro looking, isn't it? Anyway, my battery's about to die. It's going to power off, so I guess that's the end of the video. Cheers, guys. Speak to you soon. Bye. Bye.